Hey sports fans, we're back again, and this time we're here to talk about the greatest Florida Gator football players of all time. As a storied program like the Florida Gators, there are many college heroes and stars to choose from, but we've whittled this list down for you. But before we get into all that Florida greatness, do me a favor and click that subscribe button. All done? Alright, on to our list. Fred Taylor is the first of two running backs on this list, and while he may not have the same stats of the other name to be revealed later, he was pound for pound one of Florida's best to ever take a handoff. His greatness is better measured in how much better he made his team than how much better his stats are than other players on the list. Taylor played for all-time Gator coach Steve Spurrier and was a vital cog in his national championship winning team in 1996. Although he split time due to coaching philosophies and scheme fits, Taylor showed up in big games and was given the backfield to himself during his final year in Florida. He showed that he was more than capable of handling the load. His 1,292 yards on only 214 carries were the best on his team and earned him first-team All-SEC honors. To put his impact in perspective, he still finished his career fourth on the Gators' running back yard and touchdowns list despite having a light workload for most of his time in Gainesville. When you beat one of the all-time great college quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, 3 times and win your school's first national title, you make an all-time list. Danny Wuerffel played for the next player on the list from 1993 to 1996, and all he did in that time was win 4 SEC championships and become one of the most decorated athletes in school history. Although Wuerffel split time in 93, 94, and 95, the reins were his and he led the Gators to their first national title and also won the Heisman. He is one of only 2 Heisman Trophy winners ever to also be awarded the Dratty Award for being the nation's top scholar athlete. When he left the school, Wuerffel was at the top or near the top of just about every SEC record and was regarded as one of the best quarterbacks to ever put on Gator Blue. While we're on the subject of quarterbacks, let's talk about one who was the first in school history to win a Heisman and someone who is widely known more for their coaching greatness than their playing greatness, and the athlete that we're talking about is Steve Spurrier. As part of one of the first quarterback controversies in school history, Spurrier spent his sophomore year competing with returning senior Tommy Shannon, but was so good the coaches created said controversy to get the young Spurrier on the football field. Spurrier was named the starter that season against powerhouse Alabama, and even though the Gators lost, Spurrier played well enough to keep the job and go on to be the SEC Sophomore of the Year. Spurrier continued to improve as a passer during his junior and senior seasons, consistently making the Gators contenders, and although they kept falling short of the conference titles, his impact on the school was not lost on the sports writers and the rest of the football world when Spurrier was selected the school's first Heisman winner in 1966. Had Spurrier the coach not gone on to do so many amazing things, Spurrier the Gator QB had a college career that stood on its own. We're throwing it back a few decades for the next entry on our list with defensive end Jack Youngblood. An original member of Florida's Ring of Honor, whenever Youngblood was on the field, offensive lines would fret over who'd have the honor or mystifying task of lining up against him. A ferocious defender with a motor that didn't stop, Youngblood was a pressure monster, consistently hounding quarterbacks and blowing up plays in the backfield, even recording 5 sacks in a game. Youngblood wasn't just a sack master either. He was usually toward the top of the team lead for tackles and would absorb double teams, making every defensive front he played on a better one. Youngblood had several iconic moments in big games during his day, and to give you an idea of what Youngblood meant to the team, when the Gators needed to stop a trailing Georgia late in the game, Youngblood stopped the running back at the goal line with inches to go and caused a fumble which he also recovered while playing hurt. Many regard Youngblood as the best defensive player in Florida Gators history, and after looking over his Gator career and comparing it with other Gator greats, we're inclined to agree. The next entry may come with a bit of controversy because the player failed to be on a team that won any hardware, but we'd be hard-pressed to leave one of the best players, regardless of position, off this list, and that player's name is Kyle Pitts. Pitts may be a tight end, but perhaps his designation should just be an offensive weapon. Outside of the next guy on this list, there was no pass catcher ever from Florida that put the kind of fear Pitts did into opposing defenses. Don't believe us? Just watch Kyle Pitts' touchdown in the SEC championship game where Pitts was triple covered and still came down with the touchdown. One of those defenders in question was top 10 draftee Patrick Surtain. Despite Nick Saban's best efforts with a defense as close to NFL caliber as college football has, it couldn't slow Pitts down, who came away with 7 catches for 129 yards and that ridiculous touchdown that we just talked about. The unanimous All-American and Jack Mackey Award winner only played in 8 games during his final season, but still had 12 touchdowns and just over 96 receiving yards, a game which is unthinkable for a tight end. The only thing keeping Pitts from being higher on this list is because he wasn't on the roster that won the SEC title or went on to a national championship. If not, perhaps Pitts would be at the peak of this mountaintop. Percy Harvin may not be at the top of this list, but the wide receiver, running back hybrid who was also a problem as a kick returner, Harvin may have been the school's most electrifying player ever. A receiver with the kind of routes that made offensive coordinators drool and defenders look foolish, with the chops at running back that made him just as feared out of the backfield as lining up as a wideout. Percy Harvin was a true Swiss Army knife capable of hurting opponents in multiple ways. Harvin's impact was immediate. He was instrumental in helping Florida's offense win their national championship in 2006, and despite a freshman campaign filled with injuries, Harvin won SEC College Freshman Player of the Year. Harvin's second and third seasons were much of the same, with Harvin showing that when he's on the field, he could be a menace as a wide receiver, a running back, a kick returner, breaking big play after big play, and proving to be the most efficient wide receiver or running back on Florida's offense. Injury stopped him from competing in the national title game during his junior year, but he was a pivotal piece in helping the Gators reach the title game. His 32 career touchdowns are the most ever by a Gator wide receiver, and he became the first Florida player to ever record 100 yards receiving and rushing in the same game. There probably isn't a name more synonymous with Florida football than Tim Tebow, who became so popular on campus that he was somewhat of a cultural icon down in Florida. The dual-threat quarterback was known for churning out wins, and his winning ways became such a staple at Florida football that it became expected of a Tebow-led team regardless of the opponent. Although the buzz about Tebow, even though he was a backup during his freshman year, reached its pinnacle during the BCS championship. Tebow was a backup by all means, but still finished second on the team in rushing, proving to be a valuable asset on offense. Even though Tebow may have not have been the most accurate passer, he was an effective player, and whenever the solid-frame 6'3" quarterback was back on the field, Florida was a better team. The world got its first taste of Tebow on the national stage during his freshman year when he threw for a touchdown and rushed for another en route to helping Florida beat Ohio State. Although Tebow was becoming a household name after his freshman season, Tebow mania would take off during his second year at Florida after Tebow was named the starting QB. Although questions remained about Tebow as a passer, the people wanted Tebow, and apparently Florida's program did too. And in Tebow's encore season, he went on to set numerous records on his way to becoming the first sophomore to ever win the Heisman Trophy. Although they didn't win the national title that year, Tebow was the hottest thing to come out of Florida since Emmitt Smith, and even broke Smith's rushing touchdown record early in the year. Tebow would finish the year with another national title, playing through a host of injuries that almost made Tebow's exploits seem more fable than fact. Even though there was buzz that he may enter the NFL draft, in true college hero fashion, Tebow stayed on campus another season, and although he came up short of a national title, he cemented himself among Florida's all-time greats regardless of position and finished his career holding 5 NCAA records, 14 SEC records, and 28 for the University of Florida. When we're talking about the Florida Gators, it's impossible to have a list without this all-time Gator who's hands down the best college prospect to ever don the blue and orange. This 3-time All-SEC running back was causing problems for defenses long before he made it into the league, and had his pro career not have been as spectacular as it was, maybe more people would remember the number 22 that rushed for Florida and his fantastic college career, and not just the number 22 with the star on his helmet. Emmitt Smith ranks this high on our list simply because nobody since Smith has done what Smith has done for the Gators since he left, and it hasn't even really been close. While Eric Rhett may have passed Emmitt's all-time rushing mark, Emmitt's yards per game sat at an absurd 126.7 yards per game, and the next closest is 36 yards per contest. Emmitt was a 3-down monster before there ever was a 3-down monster, and had he had gotten the usage that some of these running backs get today, he may have put some of Gator records out of reach and set several all-time marks regardless of program. Smith was that good, and even though the NFL leading rusher may have not been in the cards if you were taking polls when he was drafted, Emmitt was that special, and as a testament to a player and hard worker that he was, it really shouldn't shock many people that he went on to be that great either. Alright, sports fans, that does it for our time on Florida Gator football greats, and we hope we didn't disappoint. Let us know what you think about this list and dropping a comment and getting a discussion going, and as always, if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on this channel and receive more content like this. Until next time, sports fans.